Johnny Bench, Yogi Berra, Pudge Rodriguez, and now Jorge Alfaro. Cubs have made a signing, and I'm joking around. Let's go.
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Alongside Sam Olber, I'm Matt Cozy. Best way to support the show is by listening every day on your preferred audio platform and by pressing like and subscribe on YouTube. Thank you so much for making us your first listen. Sam and I are lifelong fans, taking our passion into a discussion with you on all things Cubs. Welcome in, welcome back to Locked On Cubs. Pleased to be with you for a Thursday episode amid the fallout from Shohei Ohtani and Juan Soto joining their new teams, as well as Jung-Hoo Lee signing with the Giants earlier this week. The market for Cody Bellinger may be becoming narrower, and as it does, the likelihood of him returning to the Cubs might be increasing. Yankees got Soto and Verdugo. Giants got Lee. They have a high-priced outfield, so it might be down, Sam, to the Blue Jays and Cubs for Bellinger.
Yeah, that's exactly what John Heyman said on Wednesday afternoon in his live Bleacher Report. He didn't really have a lot of great news to share regarding the Cubs, but one positive thing was don't smirk at me while I'm talking, man. One of the positive things is that he he had some glowing things to say about Bellinger and the Cubs. And he said a reunion, is something that both sides want. And it just comes down to price, which we know. I would be very open to anything under $200 million, even something shorter with a higher AAV. And, I'm against Bellinger if it means 250, 300. I'm very for bringing him back and at least being able to say that you replaced, because the Cubs do need a left-handed bat. So if they could just bring Bellinger back, then that increases, in my opinion, the likelihood of them signing Rhys Hoskins, because now you're not as in need of a left-handed bat. So, you got Bellinger, you got Hoskins, and then it just comes down to, can you get two starters, one of them being a higher-end guy, and roll the ball out and play baseball in late March and see what it brings you. At least that would bring a division championship. Those hopes would be, fair to have, whereas right now we have absolutely nothing going on. But we'll see. I still think, it's going to be between the Cubs and Toronto, and we know that Toronto offered Shohei a very similar deal as the Dodgers, but was that just a Shohei exclusive offer? And are they not going to just throw money around, or are they willing to overpay Cody Bellinger? I think that's the big question, because it sounds like Bellinger does want to be a Cub.
Yeah, and I wondered about that with the Giants too, because everyone had the Yankees as the favorite, and they're obviously out now. But I would say they overpaid for Lee, so it could be evidence to say that the Jays could overpay for Bellinger. It's an interesting set of circumstances right now. We're going to go over the bad news from John Heyman mostly in the second segment. But Bellinger returning to the Cubs, I do think that all roads lead there. He ended up slashing 307, 356, 525, 26 homers, 29 dubs, 20 steals, all of that despite missing 32 games. And, there's all the narratives about his hard contact percentage, elevating the baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And I would hit you back with his 279 with two strikes, and that the league average is like 179.
Well, then I would hit you back and say, is that sustainable?
Right. And, based on his decisions, his swing decisions inside the strike zone, I'm inclined to say yes.
Mm-hmm.
What I also would hit you with would be, he's a premier defender in center and first base.
Hit me with that.
If Christopher Morel plays third, you need an athlete at first. Let's call it what it is. Mm-hmm. You can't have some dude over there that is only okay around the bag. It's not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
So Bellinger could be a good option there.
And he could be a good option in center.
And he's great in center. I get it that Pete Crow Armstrong is clearly valued by the Cubs, but I think he's likely to be ready to be a full-time player on when do you think? I'm going to say opening day of 25.
Who?
Full-time.
Who?
PCA.
Yeah, hopefully halfway through the year.
Hopefully. But the reason why
you know what? I'm going to cut you off. I'm a little tired of the PCA slander. He had, not from you, from everybody, he had 19 plate appearances. You know what I mean? Like, it's people are like counting him out now.
Yeah, I would dismiss that too.
Look, he may not be
Ryan
ready by
Sandberg, 2 for 40 to start his career.
Willie Mays. He may not be ready by opening day, but this idea, like, no, Matt, no, I'm gonna push back. If he's not a full-time guy till 2025, that would be a disappointment.
Right. You've inferred as much in the past.
If he has 50 to 100 plate appearances and he's still about 8 miles late on a fastball, we got a serious problem. Because at the end of the day, not only do we have a serious problem, but then the Cubs should trade him right now if they think that's a possibility, because his value won't get any higher than it is right now. So, no, I am going to push back on that. And I'm going to say one more thing. Bellinger, Hoskins, Montgomery, Lorenzen, 2 relievers, roll the ball out, win 90, and win a division, and we could all look back at this month of December and Thanksgiving and laugh about it.
So you're feeling better?
No.
Okay.
No, but that's what I'm hoping for.
The unique wrinkle to this in the last 20...
JD Martinez, too.
Oh, I don't know about that. He's like 48 years old.
Yeah, well, you know who else is pretty old? LeBron James. He's averaging 25 a year.
All right. Don't compare JD Martinez to LeBron.
Tom Brady.
The interesting wrinkle that's now crossing the wire, that's an old media term, the last 24 hours is, if no team is willing to go 250 or even 200 plus on Bellinger, then there is precedent for a Scott Boras client, of which Bellinger is, to do a short-term deal. Carlos Correa did this with the Twins prior to the 2022 season when he signed for 3 years at 105 M's, but it had an opt-out after that first season. Mm-hmm. So Correa got his 35 M's. He ended up opting out. I just said for Wednesday's episode, I would go as high as 6 years for 180 on Bellinger. But if he doesn't want to do that, then the Cubs should shift gears and put out an enticing 3-year 90 M's deal with an opt-out after 24, especially if, PCA is going to come to the forefront because he just slides in. Or you could have both in the lineup and Bellinger at first. It's clear that the Cubs are monitoring the first base DH market, but I do think Bellinger as a step in the right direction here. I know he was on the team last year. It's not an addition. Okay, he would not be an addition. If anything, he would be a subtraction. But to bring him back at this point, I am warming up to it. It sounds like his camp might be too.
I really appreciate what you said about the short-term deal because as we've learned the last 2 offseason, nobody loves a short-term deal more than Jed Hoyer. Listen, it's not an addition,
right?
But it's not nothing because to me, I've said this, and this is the most important thing of the entire offseason. If they get the same production as they did last year, they will make the postseason. So
yes.
bringing Bellinger back.
Keep saying that.
Huh?
Keep saying that.
Bringing Bellinger back gets you closer to being where you were at last year, and then you let the manager take you the rest of the way. Now, that's why I think Montgomery's better than Stroman. I think Lorenzen
is a lot better than him.
Yeah. I think Lorenzen is better than, some of the other guys we were running out there. And then Hoskins is a huge upgrade from anybody we were running out every day at first before Bellinger.
Well, so now it was 8 or 9 guys.
So now you could start to convince yourself a bit okay, you know what? We actually are a little bit better on paper than last year, even though we're not expecting the same Bellinger season. And now we have Craig Counsell and the road to 90, which is going to be our podcast's theme all year.
Good.
The road to 90 can
Nice.
begin.
I love it. Wow. Well,
And you know, and I know we're going to talk about this later on,
sure.
and it has nothing to do with this show. And sometimes I get off on a tangent, but a couple people said yesterday, because before I went to sleep last night, I tweeted out, I'm going to sleep and I'm dreaming of Jordan Montgomery and blue pinstripes. And people said that he stinks. And I just want to say this.
That's strange.
Since 2021, his ERA every year is in the mid threes, and he throws at least 160 innings. He's the peak of consistency, and he also just showed that he could pitch on the game's biggest stage. He's the exact type of guy you feel comfortable handing out a big league, a big deal to. He's 30, he's not 35, and I really like him. You know, paired with the Bulldog Justin Steele, and paired with the Professor of Hendricks, and paired with the comeback of Tyone.
Who's the fifth starter?
I don't know. Maybe Michael Lorenzen.
Oh yeah, right.
Or Wicks, or maybe they have a six man and you know No, yeah, I know. Everybody gets mad at me. They say I'm too harsh on Assad. So
well, he was great during the year.
He had an amazing year. But Matt, it's not about what you did last year. It's about what will you do this year.
Right,
That's the $1 million question.
What I have to believe that Hoyer is secretly working on a Montgomery deal. Why wouldn't the Cubs be in on him?
6?
What was the number that you floated out?
Off the air when we were on the telephone?
Yeah.
I'd go as high as like 6 for 150.
Fine.
Maybe even 160.
I was thinking maybe 170.
Sign it and ink it. I believe in that southpaw.
It'd be 2 southpaws at the top of the rotation then.
Yeah, and Hendricks could start right in between them.
That'd be great. Yeah, I like that. And there was some other players that we were updated or not on.
Who the Cubs won't get. We'll talk about that coming up next.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. As the weather gets colder, the NFL season stays warm with FanDuel.
Bears have life, man.
America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. The Bears are a 3-point underdog this Sunday at the Cleveland Browns, who are on, I believe, their 4th or 5th quarterback of the season. And starting for them against the beloved this Sunday, Joe Flacco.
It's the first really big game for the Bears in a long time.
FanDuel.com/LockedOn. FanDuel, official partner of the Locked On Podcast Network. According to John Heyman's report on Wednesday on Bleacher Report Live, the Cubs are not really in on the following players, at least publicly: Jordan Montgomery, Matt Chapman, Tyler Glasnow. Sam, I believe you also said the Reds have been named as the biggest suitor for Shane Bieber. And that very likely, as the market is shaping up, the runner-up or the runners-up for Yamamoto, one of those teams, will likely get Imanaga. So that takes the Cubs out on the Japanese lefty. Other thoughts from Heyman's chatterbox?
Yeah, I would say the Montgomery thing, I wouldn't label that. It was just, he just didn't mention the Cubs. He mentioned a couple teams, but he was just kind of going through a speed round of questions.
And who did mention the Cubs on Montgomery before the winter meeting?
Passan.
Okay. Well, I trust him.
I wonder. So the biggest thing I got from that is there's 7 meetings that are taking place with Yamamoto, and the Cubs aren't even having a meeting, according to Heyman.
Yeah.
Does that bother you?
It bothers me.
Yeah, I think it bothers me too.
Yeah.
It just shows me that Jed and Tom obviously have some sort of budget or whatever, and they just don't want to outbid. But like, I think you have to have a meeting. I know you're not going to spend $300 million on a pitcher, and I don't really want them to. But as an organization that just struck out on Shohei Ohtani and Juan Soto, you should be at least taking a meeting on the next highest price free agent, because you are the Cubs and you are supposed to be serious. And I hope that is that he just didn't know, and the Cubs do get a meeting, because they were listed as a suitor for Yamamoto.
For a long time, they were.
Yeah. And for a long time, now all of a sudden they're not. It's like, you just get worried that Jed's like, man, this market's just too crazy. I'm sitting out, and
so you think that it's where does the conservative nature lie? Is it more with Hoyer or Ricketts? Or is that not something to discuss yet?
I think Hoyer.
Because when we're talking about 300 M's, I can understand if the owner walks down the hall.
I think it's Hoyer. I don't.
Okay.
I think Ricketts. The only thing with Ricketts that I've ever said on this show is I'm not sure. I have more. Everybody else always tells me that I'm insane when I say this.
Okay.
But I don't know if he's as rich as a big market owner is. Like, I don't know if I don't know if he has as deep of pockets as everyone else thinks. I think that's just my opinion and what I've heard. I know it was true during COVID.
I hadn't heard that yet.
I'm not saying he's poor. I'm just saying that I don't know. He's not, like, I believe it's a fact that he cannot spend with the Dodgers. I believe that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what the Dodgers did means that they, in essence, have $600 million cash on hand, basically.
Well, it's just some people say, hey, the Cubs and Dodgers are in the same boat. The Dodgers are just willing to spend. No, I don't think they're in the same boat.
No, that's a different stratosphere now.
I think otherwise, I think Ricketts gets a little bit too much criticism with the spending stuff. I think it's more of a Jed thing. But they did go out and get Dansby, and just because Dansby was the fourth guy doesn't mean they didn't spend $177 million.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think this is going to be now the offseason where they're going to spend $200 million on somebody, but we know they offered Ohtani, and Heyman did confirm that today. He just didn't say the details. I'm guessing it was a number that started with a 5. So it's not like to offer that, you have to have it.
Right.
So I don't know. I think Jed's biggest problem, and this is true in sports and in life. Oftentimes, the thing that makes you laugh the most is also the thing that makes you cry. And Jed Hoyer is very good at managing the market, judging. Like, he's the opposite of the Cubs. He's really good at making sure he gets the right deals, makes the right trades, values guys. He's good at the little things. But he is also the president of baseball operations for a major market, and major market fans don't care about that as much as, hey, we don't care if you got to pay an extra $25 million for Bellinger, just go do it. Sometimes you got to swallow your pride, and Jed doesn't like to do that. The best example was Wilson Contreras. He knew he wasn't going to get Contreras back, but he still didn't like that deal. So he said, we'll take the comp pick and move on. Mm-hmm. And at some point in his tenure, he's going to have to identify a guy and pay 150 cents on the dollar for him, because that's what you have to do in this business.
And are we approaching this crazy timeline or flurry of transactions? Because at this time a year ago this weekend, the Cubs had already committed well over $200 million to 3 players. They've committed 0 right now. But so have a lot of teams, or they've committed at least a lower number than historically maybe at this point in the offseason. So I do wonder, again, between now and the 24th, when the league offices close until January 2nd, is there going to be this flurry of transactions? Because if there is, it's going to be pretty crazy out here around baseball. That's only 10, 11 days away. So keeping my eye on that. Is there a domino? I mean, I guess you could say Yamamoto, that players are waiting on him, not necessarily teams, but players. The Glasnow trade might thin out the trade market if he ends up going to the Dodgers this week. So we'll see. Coming up next, the Cubs did make a signing, but of the minor league variety. Stay tuned. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today covers the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Search Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. The Cubs signed catcher Jorge Alfaro to a minor league contract on Wednesday. Alfaro has been in the big leagues the last 8 years, but mostly as a backup. He's known for doing well defensively behind the dish. Played only 18 games in the show in 2023 between the Rockies and Red Sox. Best year offensively was back in 2019 with the Marlins when he hit 262 with 18 home runs in 130 games. Nice catching depth, Sam, behind Yan Gomes and Miguel Amaya.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, that's the episode for Thursday. Hope everybody has a great Thursday / Friday Eve.
Third catcher, just in case, little insurance.
And I mean, I don't think he's going to make the opening day roster. There would have to be some sort of absence.
Oh, Luis Torrens did.
Well, that's true. Wow. Okay.
So,
and what was the offensive upside with him again? Not really sure.
High fastballs.
Not really sure.
High fastballs.
Once again, all week and really all month, we're going to be putting the link in the episode description to our live shows. The first one is Wednesday, January 10th, 7 to 9 p.m. at the Arcata Theater in St. Charles. Again, that link is in the episode description. Join us for Cubs and Grub, Arcata Theater, Wednesday, January 10th, 7 to 9 p.m.
I still believe, Matt. Somebody asked me today, they said, "Hey, if you didn't have the show, would you be this antsy about Jed?" And I said, "No, I wouldn't."
Yeah, I think you're right.
So,
I think it's just slow moving. It's a little boring.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think antsy is a good word.
I'm antsy. I'm a little frustrated we struck out on the Stars. I still believe this team could win 90 games in 2024 with the right moves, and I still believe they can win the division. But it's going to be tough. It's going to be a grind with us, St. Louis, Cincinnati, and I really don't buy Milwaukee much. But we'll do a Central episode maybe soon. That'll be fun.
Yeah, I think we should do that for Friday.
Oh wow.
The current roster of the Cubs at 79 wins. Let's discuss what the projected win total of the 4 other NL Central teams are with their current rosters as well. So I'd like to do that for Friday's show.
Cool. I had pizza tonight. So.
Thank you so much for checking out this edition of Locked On Cubs. You give us 20 to 30 minutes, and we'll give you all things Cubs with a laugh or two along the way. How's your shower doing? Be sure to hit subscribe on YouTube and smash the like button for the algorithm. Shout out to the audio peeps on Apple, Spotify, and more. He's Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy. This is Locked On Cubs.